Stacey Abrams had always been known as a fighter. To her supporters, she was the voice of courage and resilience, a woman who could not be silenced. But that day, as she stood at the center of a packed auditorium in Atlanta, she found herself staring directly into the eyes of a man who had built a career on wit, charm, and an uncanny ability to disarm anyone, Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. The tension was so thick that even the air seemed to hum with anticipation. The event was supposed to be a civil town hall, a rare moment where leaders from across the political spectrum came together to talk about voting rights, fairness, and the state of democracy. But when John Kennedy stepped onto the stage, his slow drawl and mischievous grin sent a ripple through the audience. People leaned forward, sensing that something more than policy was about to unfold. For the first half hour, Abrams spoke passionately about equal access to the ballot box. She told stories of single mothers working 2 jobs, of veterans who fought for a country that sometimes forgot them, and of young students who believed their voices didn't matter. Her words carried weight, her cadence swelling and dipping like a preacher's. The crowd was with her, nodding, clapping, even wiping away tears. Then Kennedy stood, microphone in hand. "Now, Stacey," he began in his signature folksy tone, "I admire your passion. But sometimes passion can be a poor substitute for facts. And I reckon what folks really want to know is whether you want fairness, or just power dressed up as fairness." The room gasped. Abrams stiffened, her knuckles white as she gripped the podium. His words, though wrapped in politeness, felt like a direct attack, not just on her policies, but on her integrity. And for the first time that evening, the fire inside her erupted. "Get out," she yelled, her voice cracking through the air like a whip. The audience jolted in shock. Some clapped in approval, others whispered nervously, unsure if they had just witnessed the moment the town hall collapsed into chaos. Her eyes blazed as she continued, "If you came here to mock the fight for equality, if you came here to belittle the struggles of my community, then you don't deserve to stand on this stage." Kennedy didn't flinch. He didn't even blink. He let the silence hang heavy for a few seconds, his lips pressing into what looked like a faint smile. Then, in a voice calm and steady, he replied, "Miss Abrams, I didn't come here to mock anyone. I came here because I believe in something too. You say you fight for people who feel powerless. Well, so do I. We may wear different jerseys, but at the end of the day, we're still on the same field called America. And I'll be damned if I leave this stage without reminding everyone that sometimes the person you think is your enemy is just another neighbor trying to save the same house before it burns down." The room went silent. His words cut through the anger like a sudden breeze through a storm. Even Abrams, who seconds earlier had been trembling with fury, froze as his tone shifted from sharpness to something unexpectedly tender. He went on, his Louisiana accent deepening. "I've seen families torn apart by politics. I've seen friends who don't speak anymore because they forgot that behind every opinion is a beating heart. You can tell me to get out, but I think what we both need, what America needs, is for us to stay. To stay in the hard conversations. To stay in the fight. To stay at the table, even when it feels impossible." A hush fell over the crowd. People weren't sure whether to clap or cry. Abrams stared at him, her chest rising and falling, her hands still trembling. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Finally, she nodded once, slowly, reluctantly, but undeniably. "Then prove it," she said softly. What followed wasn't a shouting match, but a dialogue. Abrams spoke of communities who had been disenfranchised. Kennedy countered with stories of rural towns forgotten by both parties. She challenged him on policies. He pressed her on practicality. And for the first time, instead of speaking past one another, they began to speak to one another. By the end of the night, no one in the room could claim they agreed on everything. But no one left without feeling something shift inside them. They had witnessed 2 giants clash, but instead of destroying each other, they had carved out space for understanding, however fragile, however fleeting. As the audience rose to their feet, the applause was thunderous. Not because there was a winner, but because both had chosen not to walk away. In a time when division seemed like the only language left, that choice itself was revolutionary. Later, as the cameras packed up and the lights dimmed, Abrams approached Kennedy backstage. "You surprised me tonight," she admitted, her voice low but sincere. Kennedy gave a small shrug. "Well, Miss Abrams, My mama always told me, you can yell at someone, or you can remind them they're still human. One usually lasts longer than the other. For a moment, they shared a smile, not of agreement, but of respect. And that night, everyone who had been there carried away the same lesson. Strength isn't always in the shout, but in the reply that makes the world stop and listen.